The 100 days of the sacred vow were the happiest Suyan had ever known. In the quiet of the Phoenix Pavilion, they were no longer a queen and a concubine. They were just Suyan and Meilin again. They shared tea, whispered about their childhood, and sometimes, Suyan would let Meilin brush her long dark hair. Meilin found herself watching Suyan's hands, the way they were so steady when she signed decrees, but so gentle when they touched Meilin's shoulder. A strange, warm ache began to grow in Meilin's chest. She told herself it was just gratitude. "She is my friend," Meilin whispered to herself. "She is the queen. It is only loyalty." But the palace has a way of shattering peace. One rainy afternoon, the chief eunuch arrived with a golden scroll. "His Majesty the King misses the Queen's company. He shall visit the Phoenix Pavilion tonight to fulfill his royal duties." Suyan's face went pale. The teacup in her hand trembled. She looked at Meilin, who was standing by the window. Meilin felt as if a cold bucket of water had been poured over her. Usually, she was glad Suyan was the queen. But, hearing those words to fulfill his royal duties made her stomach twist, in a way she didn't understand. I shall prepare the queen's ceremonial robes," Meilin said, her voice small. She turned away quickly, so Suyan wouldn't see her eyes filling with tears. That night, the pavilion was filled with the heavy scent of musk and expensive candles. Meilin was dismissed to her side chamber, but the walls were thin. She sat on her small bed, clutching a silk pillow to her chest. She heard the heavy footsteps of the king. She heard the low rumble of his voice. And then she heard the silence, the heavy, suffocating silence of the doors closing. He is touching her, Meilin thought. The realization hit her like a physical blow. He is holding the woman She stopped. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The woman I love. The truth was terrifying. She wasn't just grateful to Suyan. She was in love with her. And yet she was helpless. She was a concubine, and Suyan was the queen. They both belonged to the man in the next room. Meilin buried her face in the pillow to muffle her sobs, feeling the weight of the golden chains that bound them both. At dawn, the king left. Suyan walked into the side chamber. She looked exhausted, her eyes hollow and dark. She saw Meilin sitting by the window, her eyes red and swollen. "Meilin?" Suyan whispered, reaching out. Meilin flinched, pulling back instinctively. The thought of the king's touch still lingering on Suyan made her heart break into 1,000 pieces. "Don't," Meilin breathed, her voice trembling. "Your Majesty, please. I am just a concubine. You shouldn't be here." Suyan froze, her hand hanging in the air. She saw the pain in Meilin's eyes and realized, with a shock of both joy and agony, that Meilin was jealous. That the wall between them felt higher than ever. The morning air was cold, but Suyan's skin felt as if it were burning. The king's departure had left her feeling hollow, soiled by a duty she despised. She stumbled into Meilin's side chamber, her silk robes disheveled, her hair falling like dark water over her shoulders. When she saw Meilin's tear-stained face, Suyan's royal composure vanished. "Meilin." Suyan's voice was a ragged whisper. She collapsed onto the edge of the bed, her head falling into her hands. I hated it. Every second. I had to close my eyes and pretend I was somewhere else. I had to pretend the hands touching me weren't his. Meilin's heart shattered. She forgot her jealousy, forgot the rules of the palace, and pulled Suyan into her arms. "Don't say it, Suyan. Please don't say it. I can't do this for the rest of my life." Suyan sobbed into Meilin's shoulder, her fingers gripping Meilin's tunic so hard they turned white. "I am the queen of 1,000 lands, but I am a slave in my own bed. The only time I feel like I am alive is when I am here, with you." Meilin held her tighter, her own tears falling into Suyan's hair. She wanted to say, "I love you," but the words felt like a death sentence. Instead, she just rocked the queen back and forth, offering the only comfort she had: her presence. Later that evening, to wash away the dust of the king's visit, Suyan dismissed all the bath maids. In the private imperial springs, the steam rose in thick white clouds, smelling of jasmine and sandalwood. "Stay," Suyan commanded softly as Meilin turned to leave. Help me wash." It was a dangerous request. In the palace, a concubine serving a queen was normal, but the air between them was anything but normal. Meilin stepped into the warm water, her inner robe clinging to her curves. She took a silk cloth and began to wash Suyan's back. The steam made everything blurry, dreamlike. Suyan's skin was like pale jade, but her shoulders were tense. As Meilin's hand moved, she felt Suyan shiver. Suyan turned around slowly, her eyes dark with a hunger she could no longer hide. The water rippled between them, glowing in the candlelight. "Meilin," Suyan whispered, her breath hitching. She reached out, her wet fingertips tracing the line of Meilin's collarbone. "Do you ever wish that we were back in the meadows, where there were no crowns, no kings?" Meilin's breath caught in her throat. She looked at Suyan's lips so close, so red, and felt a terrifying urge to lean forward. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure Suyan could hear it. "I wish for it every day," Meilin breathed. Her hand moved instinctively, cupping Suyan's cheek. For a heartbeat, the world stopped. They were two women, trapped in a golden cage, drowning in a desire they weren't allowed to name. Suyan leaned into Meilin's palm, her eyes fluttering shut. "Then love me," Suyan whispered, her voice barely audible over the lapping water. "If only for tonight. If only in this room. Love me, so I can forget the rest of the world exists." Meilin's fingers trembled. She knew that if she moved an inch closer, there was no going back. They would be traitors. They would be lovers. They would be everything the palace forbade. But as Suyan's hand moved to Meilin's waist, drawing her closer in the warm, scented water, Meilin realized she didn't care about the palace anymore. She only cared about the woman in her arms.
If I never saw your smile in the fading light, would my nights be calmer without your fight? Would the rain still feel cold when it kisses my skin? Or would I have forgotten where longing begins? You walked into my chaos, changed the frame. Now I replay your echo, but never the same.